Hey everybody, welcome to another video. And today I want to do a knife talk video. A bit of a rant, but nonetheless talk about some knives. Alright, so we're going to go from the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay? Moderately priced, cheap, and cheapest. Alright? So let's talk about these knives. First of all, the Spyderco Native Lightweight. My my most favorite pocket folding knife ever. Okay. So the blade, I love the blade. I love the shape of the blade. I love the edge. It cuts like a laser. About the sharpest knife I ever owned. About the best blade, in my opinion. Right out of the box, from the factory. It's a lockback. So it really should not be compared to these other knives. It's a lockback, and it's not one of those knives you flick open. You can loosen it up and flick it open, but it's a pretty stiff action, and I don't really care about the action. All I care about is the fact that I could open it with one hand, and I just love that blade shape. Love it. And the edge, like I said, laser sharp. All right. So love that knife. Now let's talk about these two. I could compare them because they're both access locks. I'll call them access locks because Benchmade came out with it first, and that's what they called it. Okay, so I'll call it the access lock. They're both access lock. They're both thumb stud open. They're not flippers. They're both modern day folders with belt clip. They're similar in design, and so many people have compared this knife to the Benchmade bug out. Okay, and some have compared the two and given this knife the win. Believe it or not. Okay, so I don't have a Benchmade. And here's the story why I don't have a Benchmade. It's not that I don't want a Benchmade. It's just that by principle alone, I just refuse to buy a Benchmade. Because when I went to go buy the Benchmade a couple of years ago, all over the internet, on YouTube and wherever, they were quoting the price of the Benchmade at about $130. So I was expecting to pay somewhere around that. So when I went hunting for the Benchmade, and I went hunting for this thing, it's not like they sell it at the local Walmart. They do not sell it at the local sporting goods stores. Okay, so I went hunting for this knife. Finally, I came across an army surplus store that sells modern equipment and old surplus stuff. And they had a knife section, and they had the Benchmade. The Benchmade bug out. They were selling it for about $150 to $189. And I was like, why is the price range so different? They all look the same. They look like the exact same knives. One costs $150, another costs $189, another costs almost $200. And they all had the blue scales, and they all looked the same. And I couldn't understand why the prices were different until I realized, of course, some of them had different steels, maybe. I don't know what it was, but that's the only thing that I can figure out. Okay. So anyway, I didn't buy it. Number one, looking at it in person, it just screamed cheap. Okay. And it didn't look like it was worth 140 to 150, 189, $200, whatever. It did not look like it was worth that much. And the fact that I was expecting to just pay 130 at the time, but then I went to go buy one and I found that the markup was just crazy on them. I just refused to buy it. And I'm glad I didn't buy it, because a few months later, I came across this. And I didn't even look at this knife in person. I ordered it from Amazon. Okay. And the fact that just by looking at the blade shape, okay, I was like, I fell in love with it. And not knowing if it was really sharp or not, or if it was a really good knife or not, whatever, I ordered it. And when I ordered it, and when it came in the mail, the first one I got, when I was opening it, it had a gritty action. And for whatever reason, I don't know if dirt got in it, or some kind of debris got in there or what, but it was very gritty, and it was hard to open. So I returned it and got a replacement. And the second one, of course, works just great. Smooth. Everything is smooth. Works great. And the knife is just unbelievably sharp and stabby. It's the only knife that I don't have to put a lot of effort in to just poke through stuff, you know. I'm just trying to be real careful not to stab myself. Okay, there you go. I mean, just the point alone slices through that. Okay. Just effortless, just stabbing action. Just goes right through almost anything. Okay, and cuts. Just perfect. You know, love it. So I bought this for, I believe, somewhere between 120 and 130 bucks. I don't know the exact price. I'll have to look it up. But I didn't pay nowhere near over $130 for this knife. Well worth every penny. I would buy this knife all day long for that price. My favorite knife. And true to its name, it is light. And it's light because the scales are all basically plastic. Okay. And there's no steel liner in there at all. It's just a steel back side here, a spine where it's locked, the back, the locking mechanism, and that's about it. Okay. And it's a rock solid knife. Rock solid. Okay. So, these two knives. This one here, you can find, it's a Mossy Oaks branded Axis lock knife. You can find this knife for about $20 to $30. Depending on where you order it from, who you buy it from, and this and that. So, but generally, it's more of like a $22 to $25 knife. It's got micarta scales. It's got a full steel liner. As Axis lock. It's got decent quality hardware. You know. So the action is actually not as loose and smooth as this one. Okay. But this is where the comparisons come in between the cheapest and the cheap. Both knives are pretty decent knives, by the way. Okay. Which one do I prefer? I actually prefer this knife, not because it costs more or because it was made out of better material, more quality material. I mean, this is micarta. This is just plain plastic, but I like the fact that this has a wider blade. Okay, closer kin to the spear point shape of the native. Okay, I just love this spear point type of looking blade. I really do. This blade shape is more akin to the Benchmade bug out, and also the scales look almost like the Benchmade bug out. So it's always compared to the Benchmade bug out. And here's the rant part, folks. A knife is a knife as long as it cuts, slices, and does the job that you need it to do. And all three of these knives does the job that you're going to want it to do. Okay. Will it cut cardboard all day long and then, be able to cut through steak and paper and all that at the end of the day? Maybe, maybe not. But who of you, any of you that are watching this video does that? Do you go and cut cardboard all day and then expect the knife to do more work after work? Well, I'm sure there's a few of you out there that use a knife at work to open boxes and cut boxes up and things like that. And most people who work in warehouses and factories that do that use box cutters. They use actual box cutters to do that. But some of you may take your own personal pocket knife and work with it all day. But let's say this edge retention is not that good. So you dull this in one day. Okay, you take it home and sharpen it. That's all you got to do. For $10, I mean, it's almost the price of a disposable razor for shaving. So if you can take this home at the end of the day and sharpen it and get it to cut really decent the next day, it's well worth the money. All right. This one here eventually will get dull. You may be able to go 2 or 3 days without sharpening it, but it'll need sharpening. It's not. It used to be considered a super steel. CPM S30V. Okay, that's decent steel, but eventually you have to sharpen this too. Okay, so and this is D2. This is D2, by the way. S30V, and this is 8CR 13 MOV. Okay, so 3 different types of steel, and I've carried and used all 3, and I can tell you that these 2 right here, hardly no difference at all. Okay, this one here, extra sharp. These 2 cannot compare to this when it comes to cutting and slicing. One pass cut. One pass cut. I had to push down a little harder. Let's do what I did with the. Okay, cut decent. I just sharpened this. I sharpened these 2 recently, so yeah, that cut one pass. Oh nope, I need to go and sharpen this one. Okay, that cut. All right, so the edge geometry of this knife, although they're all sharp, the edge geometry alone just makes this a better cutter and slicer, in my opinion. Well, in factually, because You know, it just cuts and slices. That's what this knife does. All right. So, will I ever get the Benchmade bug out? No. Now, if they lower the price and if they come to their senses and lower their price down to what the knife is actually worth, then yes, definitely would buy one. I don't think a Benchmade bug out is worth no more than $100. Anywhere between $80 to $100 is more than enough for Benchmade to sell that knife and still make a huge profit on it. Because I can tell you, other than the steel that they use for that knife, everything else is just cost nothing to, produce. I mean, come on, seriously. If China can give you a full steel lining, steel with this type of hardware, I'm sure Benchmade can do the same thing for about the comparable price. Okay, material wise, labor cost, that's different. You got, in order for you to say made in the USA, you got to pay people here in the USA to make them. But come on, let's be realistic, man. I worked in warehouses, and I'll be honest with you, 95% of the people that work in warehouses are immigrants. Okay, and I'll be honest with you, a good portion of them are not here legally. I hate to say this. I hate to bust anybody's bubbles, but there's ways that people can forge documents, cheat the system, however they do it. I don't know how they do it, but somehow or another, they are getting jobs in these American warehouses and doing the job for minimum wage, some of them, but not really. A lot of them are getting paid somewhere between, now the minimum wage is around maybe, what is it, about $7.50 an hour now, but standard wise, people are getting paid around $15 an hour average, and most Americans are not even willing to work for that little. So majority of the people that are working in these warehouses are getting paid anywhere from $14 to $16, $17 an hour. So yes, labor is still a huge factor in what a knife costs, but Benchmade can make their bug out and sell it for anywhere between $80 to $100 and guaranteed they'll still make a profit. Okay, not as big as what they're doing now, but actually they probably would sell more knives. They would sell more knives if they lower their prices, and production would have to be ramped up, and they would make more money that way. But bug out, Benchmade, what they're doing, in my opinion, is totally wrong. They're overcharging for a product for whatever their reasons are. Obviously, is to make a profit, but maybe they just don't have the ability to make more, and instead of making more, they're just making what they're making and charging more for them to make a profit. And that's, to my opinion, that's wrong business. Okay, that's doing the consumer wrong. Charge the people what the product is worth, material wise, labor costs, and all that. When you're charging almost $200 for a knife that's all 50% plastic, okay, come on, folks, seriously. Benchmade deserves whatever criticism they get because they are overpricing their stuff. Spyderco, they're starting to get up there, but they're not as bad as Benchmade. Spydercos are still kind of reasonable, and to be honest with you, I like the design of the Spyderco better. Especially this design right here. So yeah. Anyway, this knife here has become one of my favorites actually. I ranted about and criticized this knife when I first got it in the first video I ever made of it, saying that it was cheap and that the action was horrible and this and that. But I loosened it up a little bit, and after breaking it in, the action is not as, you know, it's not as that good, but I mean it's good enough where I can carry it and, you know, be happy using it, you know. So yeah, I really like this knife. Easy to sharpen. And I believe this steel is used in Spyderco's, the China-made Spyderco's. Because Spyderco is made in several different countries. USA, Taiwan, China, Europe. European countries. I think some are made in Canada, I'm not sure. But this one here is made in USA, Colorado made. And I believe that those Spydercos that are made in China have the same steel as this one, ACR 13 MOV. Some of them, anyway. And I have no complaints about this knife. Actually, I really don't. You know, it serves me very well. It's my main. It goes in my main EDC pouch. It serves me very well. And this one here, the action is, a lot better than this. But I do prefer the design and the look of the blade, and I do like this knife better. But this knife here, if I had to go work, if I had to go to work and use this knife for work, I'd use this all day. I wouldn't take this to work because I wouldn't want to wear this out or break it or lose it. You know, it's too expensive for me to lose. And to me, I wouldn't want to use this as a work knife all day because although it looked nicer, it's and I love the design and everything. This feels more like that kind of box cutter utility stuff that you can use. It's very light, and you can use this all day long and not feel worn out or worry about breaking it. You know, if you break it, so what? You buy another $10 knife. It's the cost of a disposable razor, right? So, yeah. My rant about the Benchmade. Come on, folks. If you're watching this video and you're a Benchmade fan, sorry, folks. I know they make a good product, but they're overcharging. Definitely overcharging, overpriced, and it's not right. It's not right. So, just to let you know, there's a lot of cheaper alternatives. But I do have to admit that you get what you pay for, and sometimes you get more than what you pay for, and you get exactly what you pay for, and sometimes you pay too much for what you get, and that's the Benchmade. All right, thanks for watching. Check you later.